Hi everyone, I'm Noah Falklind. I'm one of the many cinematographers from Living with Leopards. We're very lucky to work for 2.5 years in the field following a family of leopards.
Hi everyone, my name's Hannah. I was also lucky enough to be part of the team that worked on Living with Leopards, and it was a real honour to be here today. And just to make it clear, we were part of a huge dream team. So it wasn't just the two of us, but we were working with a fantastic team on the ground. So the rest of the filming crew, but also the incredible people behind the scenes that made the magic happen, whether that was the admin assistants in the office, the conservationists who had protected the Okavango Delta and made that possible. So yes, it was very much a group effort, and you'll actually be introduced to some of that human cast when watching Living with Leopards. So I'll leave that to the imagination.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to talk to you because I've seen your accolades. It goes on and on. The list is endless. Living with Leopards recently has come out. Surviving Paradise, A Family Tale, Animal, and have you been on Our Planet as well?
Yeah, Our Planet 2. So
Our Planet 2, oh
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Amazing. Look at these achievements. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. A creator myself, I'm so curious to see how this all came to be. But you're also conservationists. You're passionate about nature, giving a voice for nature, and we share the same values here. We too, at Dilmah, share a principle of serving humanity and nature. And I think before we get into living with leopards and all that, where did it all start? Let's go back to where wildlife hit you like a rock and said, I'm in love with it. Let's start with you, Hannah.
It's a difficult one to answer. I think I've been, as a lot of people have been, in love with nature for as long as I can remember. But for me, it didn't really start with leopards. It was bugs.
Bugs?
So yes, that tends to be the reaction. So growing up, every party I had was bug themed. Everything I did was bug themed. I'd run around in my little ladybug outfit. And I just fell absolutely in love with the world around bugs and insects as well. And that curiosity took me to university, where I studied biology. And then I realized that I couldn't teach people to fall in love with the natural world around them in the way that I had been taught growing up without learning some of those lessons. So I went on to do a master's in science communication. And then from there, I ended up in Botswana. I met Noah, I met Machima, a leopard that would change our lives. And I also learned through that process that if you save just one leopard, you don't just save that leopard, you save its home, its habitat, its ecosystem, the entire web that sustains it, including the bugs. So it feels like a full circle journey, and I'm really delighted to be here.
There's clearly something deeper than just filmmaking here. There's something that you want to share a message here, right? Maybe before we get in that, Noah, how about you? Where did it all start for you?
I think it started as a very, very young boy. Just the passion of wildlife. I think if you showcase wildlife to any kid, they will be interested. If you start explaining the facts on how, doesn't matter if it's how the natural world was created, how the trees work, how we get oxygen, how this little bug will matter in a bigger scale. It's super interesting once you start learning and digging into it. So I think it started very early for everyone. It's just never stopped. And then it started growing, and eventually I started having a camera on my chest, and it became a medium and a reason to go back into the wild because, oh, I want to get a better photograph. Let me go back into the forest. And I was starting with just photographing backlit leaves. I was photographing bugs. I was trying to follow the foxes that was nearby and moose and all this Swedish. And then I got more involved into the birding community, which was a huge groundbreaking point because now it started to get serious because these birders were hardcore. They would go through the
Did you have one of those books as well?
Yeah.
To tick off?
Yeah. The tick boxes. But it wasn't about ticking boxes. It was about getting out there. And I think I was following my brother's footstep a lot as well because he was very outdoorsy. My whole family was very outdoorsy, but he was a hardcore climber and diver. He's 6 years older as me, so I was always following in his footsteps. and he introduced me to a lot of cool places. But while he was climbing the walls,
Yeah.
I was looking at the birds with the binoculars and trying to see what was around and listening. I have never heard this sound before.
No, yeah.
And then you just start realizing that you can combine these with work. You can earn money spending time out in the forest and the wild. And eventually I got an opportunity after a lot of begging and asking for jobs in Southern Africa. And I started working for a helicopter company. After a lot of no's, I got one yes, and that was the helicopter company. And they just took me under their wing, and I was doing their social media, websites. I was trying to help with marketing, but I was also doing things like fuel runs and what you have to do when you're working in a small company. Mm-hmm. And then that later led to the local film company that we both were working on in Botswana, and that's where we met as well.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. All of this, hearing the birds, hearing chasing the foxes, going for zoology or biology?
Biology.
Yeah. Someone confused me a few days ago with saying zoology.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, it's just to add on that as well, like each leopard is like each human. They have each in their own personality. And it was very obvious on all these leopards that we're following that they had different personalities and different routines and different things they like to hunt or eat, or different trees they like to perch on.
Gosh, so every day must have been exciting and always curious to what's going to happen next.
Oh my God, we were waking up with butterflies through our body every day because anything can happen.
Yeah.
And
No, yeah. I mean, I think that's what gets you out of bed each morning and drives you. And out in the field, no 2 days are ever the same. Anything could happen. And that might mean that the leopard is lying flat all day. That might mean you never find the leopard at all. Or that might mean you could witness something extraordinary, let alone something that makes it into that final 65 minutes on screen. So anything can happen. And that is what is so exciting.
I think, which shot or sequence was the hardest to film and had to take so much time and commitment? Have you seen that movie, Walter Mitty, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty? He goes in search of this awesome Life magazine photojournalist, and he finds him in the Himalayas, perched on a rock, shooting snow leopard, and he's been there for days. Have you had to do that? Have you had to be there for days?
Oh, months.
Months? In one spot?
No, not one spot. Sorry, yeah. Wow. I think. Do you have one?
Well, I was just going to say, so living with leopards was a labor of love for 2.5 years. So I would say 2.5 years were like that waiting, heart in your throat with the camera pointed at the leopards.
As you're describing this, I can feel the connection you already have with, it's like a big family, and you're just watching the family do their thing.
Yeah.
How do you identify them so quickly? Do you identify them quickly, or there's no tag, right? Because you can't.
No. It's all basic. I'll let you talk about that, but I just want to say we try to separate, even though we have so many emotions to it. It's very clear that we have emotions to them, but they don't have emotions to us, because we just want to be observers. We have to take a step back and observe.
Are you reading my questions?
No. No, okay, I'll jump, but we don't want to anthropomorphize and put too much human emotions to it, because they are leopards and we are humans, and it's easy to put, even though they have emotions and we have emotions, it's easy to put our emotions to them.
No, of course,
so we just like to
but it's
separate
passion,
that.
right? So it's a tough boundary.
But
how do you spot them?
So there's a big sexual dimorphism between male and female leopards. So females are much smaller, and of course there's a size difference between the cubs and the adults. Mm-hmm. And then we also look at their whisker spot patterns, as well as other unique spots on their body. Obviously they're covered in spots, but the ones we predominantly look at run along the side of their face, the top line. And leopards have a spot pattern that is unique to individuals, just like a human fingerprint is to us. So that was another good way of recognizing them. But also as they age, leopards tend to, especially the leopards in Botswana, but we've noticed in Sri Lanka, they tend to have a bit clearer ears. But the leopards in Botswana, usually as they age, they got a lot more scars, they got a lot more defining features that were recognizable like that. Like we've heard of some leopards in Sri Lanka here that have had kinks in their tail, which make them really easy to recognize. So I think at the beginning it was using those different clues to figure out who each individual was. But towards the end, we just became so good at recognizing them, from so far away, and just by their size, or the way they walked, or the way they carried themselves.
By the way they walked?
Yes, I mean, to an extent. Obviously, you'd want to go closer, but from quite a far distance away, you could start to figure out who was who.
This is more an ethical one.
Yeah.
When filmmaking in this situation, the interference, and you mentioned emotion as well earlier. How does that work? And you mentioned showing up earlier so you don't interfere with the situation, but explain from your perspective how that works. Maybe Hannah can start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the ethical perspective is central to everything that we do in every project that you work on. So working with wildlife, you have a responsibility to behave in a respectful and ethical way towards them. And actually, when you do, the wild reveals itself. So it's actually a way to not only the right thing to do, but you tend to get better shots, better behavior, and you do so without interfering. So if you pull out and give some space, perhaps a predator might walk past your leopard and something natural could happen. But it also means that we're not sabotaging a hunt that she might do, and that might mean she goes hungry, but she might also have cubs, and then those cubs could go hungry. So it's the responsible thing to do as well. And I think it comes with familiarity with leopards as well. So over time, we got to know these leopards so well, and you know their path and the routes that they're about to take. And so you can anticipate where they'll be moving to next. So you're not always chasing them.
Could you get it to the time, oh, it's going to cross at 12?
Definitely not me.
Leopards always prove you wrong. When you think you know them, they do something else. Yeah.
But so anticipating where they're most likely to move to and when they're most likely to be in this open space where you have a nice clear view of filming, it means you can have your engine off, you can be set up ready to camera. Instead of capturing them walking away from frame, you've got them walking towards frame. And it's just, I think it's just the right thing to do all around. So always behaving in a responsible and respectful manner. And I think it's a two-way street then. So as soon as you've established that relationship of trust, and that's not necessarily trust in the sense of over-habituating, which is a story that doesn't end well for anyone. It's more of you just become invisible background noise to them, and they trust that you're not there to hurt them or sabotage their hunt. You're just there as background noise, as observers.
Technically, do you have like we have on our estates, we have camera traps? Do you use that sort of technology, or is it always in person?
I've used camera traps a lot but for this project we didn't. I think one of the reasons we didn't use camera traps is because there's a lot of wild animals out there. There's elephants.
So it's triggering
it's triggering a lot, but it's also how do we secure it from elephants? Hyenas love to bite everything that's new, so they'll just bite it and rip it into pieces. No matter how secure you made it, their jaws can break through bone. So and then it's leopards. They're curious, and it's just another obstacle out in the wild as well. That I do love camera traps.
If I can add, I think camera traps are a really exciting technology, and I think they can film quite natural behavior in a non-invasive sense as well, especially in areas that are harder to reach. So we've been quite lucky to spend a lot of our time in Botswana, which has quite a lot of open floodplains, but perhaps here in Sri Lanka, where we've just been, Wilpatu National Park, there's a lot more thorny scrub. And so in areas like that are harder to get jeeps into, having camera traps might be more of an option there to be the least invasive option.
Mm-hmm. So it depends on circumstance as well, and of course you have environment always you've got to justify, right?
Yeah. It's a cool tool though.
Yeah, it
yeah,
is,
it's
yeah.
very
Definitely,
cool.
definitely.
And these camera traps that have standards for bigger broadcasters, they tend to be quite big and bulky. So it's a camera trap, and then there's sensors you have to place in. So it's not a small little innocent Bushnell. It's a big operation to monitor and service and keep. Because yeah.
If you look back at history, we have literature, poetry, even photographs. Have you seen Vulture and the Little Girl by Kevin Carter? It was a photograph that captured a vulture overlooking a little girl in Somalia, and she was malnutrition. She was suffering from malnutrition, and and it sparked great global interest. And people started movements, and they said you shouldn't be photographing that and things like this. The reason I bring that up is because I wonder, how can wildlife filmmaking in particular, be an instrument to craft a movement and drive conservation? Our passion as the Dilmah family is to inspire and give a voice to the voiceless. Nature, nature is such a blessing to us, and we need to nurture it. How do you see wildlife filmmaking and the roles you are both in? How does that and how can it impact conservation?
Yeah, I think wildlife filmmaking, wildlife photography, actually just filming and photography in general, these mediums, they can transcend language or cultural, social barriers, and they can say so much more, and they all tell a story, whether it's a film or a photograph. And that is crucial in the world, to get out those messages of conservation. And we, on this morning when we were traveling around Colombo, we saw a tuk-tuk that said the pen is the most powerful tool of them all. And actually you pointed out the pen is powerful, but the camera is also really powerful. And so it's really important as a medium for conservation. I think mostly just for inspiring people to care about their planet. And that might be through all sorts of different ways, but I think the famous saying, I believe it's Baba Diam, a Senegalese forestry engineer, is you've got to love something if you're going to conserve it. And I think hopefully what we're doing is helping people fall in love with that environment, and then that leads to conservation. So yes, I think films and photographs are absolutely essential towards conservation, and hopefully they create a bigger change. Everything that we work on, we hope that it does so much more than just a film. We hope it sparks change and ignites curiosity, and perhaps even makes a difference in the world, changes the way someone sees someone. And as I said, if you save just one leopard, you save so much more than that. And that is absolutely critical. So if we've changed just one person's perception to the world around them, then we've done so much more than we could ever have hoped for.
No, exactly. I was just going to say, like, for me personally, after watching it, I have like a new perspective on a species that I would just see it in a coloring book when I was growing up, right? And you realize how intricate and detailed their personalities are, the character, and how they live their lives. And I think you've just hit exactly the feeling that I had when I watched it, and it's amazing. My final question to you is, for aspiring filmmakers, whether it be researchers or cinematographers, what is your one piece of advice for someone who, because creating content and creating it's more than just visuals, it's about a message, right? What we have discussed so far. What is your one piece of advice? Maybe Noah, you can kick it off.
I think it's going to sound quite cliche, but it's really about following your heart and following your passion. Because if you are truly passionate, you will be able to create something, and something incredible. It doesn't matter if it's with your iPhone, Sony A7S, or a Red camera on Arri. If you're truly passionate about creating, you will start creating. You will call friends to get involved. You will start pulling plugs to get the project involved, and eventually it's always the hardest to take the first step. Yeah. But once you start taking the first step, the next step is clearer, and the third step is even clearer. And then there's a few back steps as well on the way, but I think work from the heart, tell the story from your heart, because if you really tell it from the heart, the audience will start knowing that as well.
Hannah?
I'm not sure I can say it any better than that, Noah. I agree completely. And I think just get out there and do it. Tell the stories and know that you are using a very important medium. So tread lightly, tell stories that matter, and remember to share and collaborate with other photographers and filmmakers and conservationists, and stay true to your purpose, whatever that may be.
Can I say one more
Of
thing?
course you can.
That's also really cliche. It's actually also fail. Because if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. So just keep pushing, keep failing, follow that passion. It's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. Yeah. But if you stick to it, I think you're going to not regret it. Yeah. You often regret what you don't do. You seldom regret what you do.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah. It was awesome. It was wonderful to chat with you. You guys have an audience waiting for you, so I'll let you go very soon. Yeah. You've joined us here at Genesis by Dilmah. We're chatting, we're talking about sustainability, discussing conservation, and driving a future that is best for humanity and our planet. Thank you for joining us.